Hola, ¿cómo están? Soy Axel y estamos en Córdoba, Argentina. Aquí hemos tenido una conferencia con el pastor secretario del Esfuerzo Cristiano mundial, de Coryell.
Hola.
Y bueno, vamos a conversar con él, vamos a hacer una nota y vamos a hablar acerca de su ministerio, vamos a hablar del Esfuerzo Cristiano y de lo que le pareció aquí estos días aquí en Córdoba, Argentina. Bueno, vamos a conversar. Cuestión 1. ¿Cómo llegaste al Esfuerzo Cristiano?
Yes, I got to be with Christian Endeavor really in my youth. So the church that I grew up in, they didn't call the ministry with youth Christian Endeavor. They were part of a merger before I was even born, and they were told that they had to call the youth ministry by the denomination's name. But by the time I was 13 years old and I started in the youth ministry, our leaders had grown up in Christian Endeavor. And so they ran it like it was a Christian Endeavor group. So that was my first exposure. And then later, when I was working with youth in the church, I was asked if I would speak at a Christian Endeavor event. And speaking in that event, that's when I learned more about Christian Endeavor. And they eventually asked if I would serve as the executive director of their ministry.
Ah, buenísimo. Question 2. ¿Qué significa para vos el esfuerzo cristiano?
So, what Christian Endeavor means to me is that I am to live for Christ in every area of my life. I know there's a little bit of a challenge as we try to go from the English word endeavor to the Spanish word, and it's translated Christian effort. To me, it's more than just giving my effort, but it's endeavoring or looking to live for Christ in every area of my life. So I want to live for Christ in my individual life. I want to do that at home. I want to impact my neighbors that live around me. I want to live this out in the place where I work. And I've tried to challenge my own children to live this out at school. And so it's in every area of life. That is what it means to me, to be part of Christian Endeavor. And that's what that phrase means.
Oh, claro. Question 3. ¿Cómo fue tu llamado al ministerio?
Yeah. So my call to ministry unfolded over time. It wasn't that I necessarily had one day that it was like, oh, I heard from God. But I saw Him encouraging me, sending people into my life that affirmed my abilities to teach and to speak, and then taking some different classes and talking to mentors. And then there was one day as I was helping with a church's youth ministry that I just stopped and I said, wow, I could do this my whole life. And so that's how that happened.
Oh, buenísimo. Question 4. ¿Podría darnos un resumen de los esfuerzos cristianos alrededor del mundo?
Sure. Well, around the world you can find people in 55 different countries that are already using Christian Endeavor strategy in some way. And that doesn't even include a few countries where we have introduced Christian Endeavor and they're in the process of getting started. So that's part of the scope of what God is doing through Christian Endeavor. And it has been growing and growing for the last several years. And so we're excited about what's happening there.
5. ¿Cuál crees que fue la razón por la cual el esfuerzo cristiano sigue vigente después de tantos años en tantos países?
Yeah, we really can't get more contemporary or more valid than involving youth. Because you know something is always going to have the energy and the insight of what is the latest trend if you're involving young people. So Christian Endeavor, it takes the unchanging nature of the gospel and it connects it with the world today because youth are intimately involved making the decisions and carrying out the programming, and that's why Christian Endeavor is as valid today as it was 143 years ago when it started.
Question 6. ¿Cuáles son las nuevas misiones en que estás trabajando en el esfuerzo cristiano?
Yeah, so there's really two primary new missions that Christian Endeavor is involved with. One is spreading the movement to new places. That's always part of what Christian Endeavor is about because we're in the midst of being a small part of the large, the grande movement of God in the Christian church. So our attitude is always, how can we reach more people for Jesus? How can we impact more young people so that way they can do the work of Christ? So that's one part. The the second part is that because Christian Endeavor has been in existence for 143 years, over time, certain places, they began to forget certain ideas of Christian Endeavor, or maybe they were never taught some ideas. So an ongoing challenge is for us to bring alignment in all the places where you find Christian Endeavor, making sure that we are in agreement with the vision, with the direction, but also have clarity around the strategy so that we are working together. Now, each culture will always be unique. So Argentina will look different than the United States and look different than Micronesia, or even different than Ghana. So all of these places will look a little different, but the strategy and the priorities should be the same. And so that's a challenge for having us all go forward together.
Buenísimo. Question 7. ¿Cuáles son los desafíos que tienes en este momento el esfuerzo cristiano?
Yeah, so this question is really an extension of the question that I was just asked in number 6. And what makes it especially challenging is that Christian Endeavor is a movement. So I sit in a leadership role, but I'm not the boss of everyone that's out there. Different groups in their countries, they run Christian Endeavor in their country. And we're not a ministry that has millions of US dollars. So we're not able to fly all of our leaders together once a year so that we can make sure that we talk vision all in the same room and clarify strategy. So one of the huge challenges is having the process to keep us all working together. By God's grace, it continues to happen, but that is a grand challenge for us.
Buenísimo. ¿Qué significa Dios en tu vida?
Yeah, the answer to this question is very similar to the answer that I gave for what is Christian endeavor. Because my Christian endeavor is to live out my beliefs in who God is. So what God means in my life is that He is the reason why I breathe air today. He is the reason why I am alive. And so the meaning of God in my life is that I am to live for Him. He gave me everything, and I am to give everything as an offering back to Him.
¿Podés contarnos algo acerca de la convención mundial en Alemania, Germany?
Yes. So we had 25 countries represented in Germany, and we had so many leaders denied their visas. There were leaders from 14 African countries and several Asian countries that no visa. We would have had well over 40 countries represented.
Yeah.
But with the 25 countries, we had a wonderful time. The Germans were excellent hosts. They created a wonderful atmosphere, and everything was well prepared. And so huge thank you to the people in Germany. But it was a time where we talked about empower. And that theme was used to help all of us realign around this important concept in Christian endeavor, that this ministry exists so that we can impact young people and make sure they have the encouragement so they can carry out the work that God has for them. And so I felt the convention did an amazing job of helping us move in that direction.
¿Qué desafío tiene el esfuerzo cristiano para el futuro?
Yeah, challenges for Christian endeavor in the future, and I appreciate that, because there's challenges now, and what do we see the challenges being in the future? Well, God's given us a vision to see Christian endeavor grow into 100 countries in the next 7 years. Now, that is a vision. Some might ask, why am I bringing that up as a challenge? Because we're going to continue to grow our systems, our leadership process, our communication process, our fundraising. All of this has to grow along with us if we're going to reach this goal in the time frame that we believe that God has led us to. And so I'll say, when we reach that goal, it's going to require all of these things to grow along with us.
¿Qué opinas de Argentina?
Yeah. So,
1, 2, 3.
I've had a wonderful time in Argentina, and I know in Argentina people love football, they love asada, and they love family. I think they might love them in that order.
Lomito,
ensalada, milanesa, so much good food. But the people have been wonderful, and extremely thankful for this being my second visit to Argentina, and I hope that the visits will continue, but very excited.
My phrase, fair, new phrase, Ivan.
Yeah. Yes. So yes, have met many good friends, and I'm inspired by some of the strong churches here So, Fuerte Iglesia. So, I'm inspired by that. I see young people doing ministry and excited to do more. And so, I am thankful for that. I'm thankful for the heart of the people and
Pastor Eduardo.
yes.
Primero, Pastor Juan Carlos.
Mm-hmm.
Very
Yeah. I met with the pastors of that church, and also met with Pastor Diego and Pastor Jose and Eduardo. So many great, strong pastors and their churches and their people, and so I'm thankful for what God has done and is continuing to do in Argentina, and I'm thankful for the partnership as Christian Endeavor begins to take shape, to grow and impact more young people and more churches into the future.
Thank you very much, Dave.
Yeah. De nada.
De nada.